Imagine a place built more than 2,300 years ago that is so perfect, even today's advanced tools can't match it. Deep in India lie the Barabar Caves, carved into solid granite. These caves are unbelievably smooth, their walls shining like mirrors, and their design is so precise that sound echoes inside for over a minute. How was this possible so long ago? But here's the strange part. While the caves are highly advanced, the inscriptions inside are simple and rough, almost as if they were added much later. So who really built these caves? And why? Were they just shelters for monks or something far more mysterious? These caves hold secrets that could change how we see the past. Join us as we uncover the incredible story of the Barabar Caves, one of India's greatest mysteries. The Barabar Hills are made of granite and stretch about 100 meters. From above, they look like the back of a whale. These hills have 4 ancient caves: Sudama, Lomas Rishi, Karna Chaupar, and Vishwakarma. About 2.5 kilometers away, there is Nagarjuni Hill, which has 3 more caves: Gopika, Vadathika, and Vapiyaka. Together, these 7 caves, 5 finished and 2 incomplete, are some of the most mysterious structures in India. The Barabar Caves get their name from the Barabar Hills in which they are located. The word Barabar in Hindi means uniform and symmetrical, much like the caves themselves. Each cave has a trapezoid-shaped doorway. Behind the door there is a passage with inscriptions that leads to a rectangular chamber. These chambers have sloping walls and a stone-cut bench, but the most surprising thing is the walls. They are polished so well that they shine like mirrors. This is even more amazing because the caves were carved out of granite, which is one of the hardest stones in the world. The ceilings of the caves are curved, giving them a unique design. Were these caves built by Ashoka? Ashoka the Great is one of India's most famous kings. He is remembered for how his life changed after the Kalinga War. This war was not just a battle, it was a turning point. Thousands of people lost their lives, and the terrible scenes deeply affected Ashoka. Seeing the pain and suffering made him choose a new path. He embraced Buddhism and dedicated his life to spreading peace and non-violence. Many believe this change also inspired him to build structures like the Barabar Caves to support religious groups like the Ājīvikas. But life is unpredictable. Just like the Kalinga War changed Ashoka's life, unexpected events can change our lives too. Anything can happen at any time. It's not just wars. Life's uncertainties can come from accidents, sudden illnesses, or other surprises. Sometimes, everything seems perfect, but one unexpected moment can change everything. This makes us think, if something happens to us, who will take care of our family? Who will provide for them? That's why it's so important to have a safety net for the future. Term insurance is one such safety net. For just 600 to 700 a month, you can get a cover worth 2 crore rupees. This plan gives coverage up to the age of 80 and can include riders that cover 59 critical illnesses. You can even add accidental coverage for extra security. Getting a term insurance plan is not just about protecting yourself. It's about ensuring your family's financial future is secure no matter what happens. To make it simple for you, I've added a link in the video description. Click on it, fill in your details, and compare over 51 insurers to find the best one for you. Take this small step today to secure the future of the people who matter the most to you. Ashoka's story teaches us the value of planning for the future. His support for spiritual causes and the creation of structures like the Barabar Caves still inspire us today. However, these incredible caves were forgotten for centuries, hidden from the world. In 1785, they were rediscovered by John Herbert Harrington, a British officer and writer for the East India Company. He found 4 caves, Sudama, Karna Chaupar, Lomas Rishi, and Gopika, and wrote about them. However, he did not know who built these caves or why. His discovery brought attention to the caves, and more people began studying them. Even today, not all historians agree on who made the caves. Some inscriptions say Ashoka built Sudama and Vishwakarma, but others suggest the Nagarjuni caves were built later by his grandson, Dasharatha Maurya. Modern researchers believe the advanced design of the caves may point to a deeper purpose than just being gifts from a king. The Barabar Caves are a true example of perfection. The chambers inside are so symmetrical that if you were to divide them in half, both sides would look almost exactly the same, hence the name Barabar. To understand how impressive this is, think about modern construction. A difference of a few centimeters between two sides is considered acceptable. But in the Barabar Caves, the difference is just 2.5 millimeters, something truly astonishing. The design of the caves is also incredible. The floors are perfectly rectangular with 90-degree corners that show no signs of distortion. The walls are not completely vertical, but are carefully slanted at an angle of 87 degrees. This was much harder to achieve than straight walls. The ceilings have perfectly centered arches, and the floors are leveled so precisely that they seem flawless. Even the passages leading to the chambers are cut at exact right angles, which shows that detailed planning and calculations were done before construction even began. To put things in perspective, in today's construction, a difference of 2 millimeters over a 2-meter ruler is considered very precise. This is a ratio of 1 in 1,000. The Barabar Caves, however, achieve a precision of 1 in 100,000. This is something that feels almost impossible without modern tools. What's even more fascinating is how consistent the sizes of the chambers are. For example, the Vadathika and Vapiyaka chambers in Nagarjuna Caves have the exact same dimensions. They follow a specific proportion, 2:3, meaning 2 parts for the width and 3 for the length. The same ratio is also found in other chambers, like Karna Shalpa and Gopika. This shows that the builders followed strict geometric principles. Even the volumes of the chambers are carefully calculated. Some of the chambers are cylindrical or spherical in shape, which would have required advanced mathematical knowledge, including the use of pi with multiple decimal points. And this was done long before such calculations were formally documented in history. This raises the question, why go to such great lengths for this level of precision? Could these chambers really have been built just as shelters, or did they serve a much more important purpose? One of the most fascinating features of the Barabar Caves is the polished surface of the walls. These walls are not just smooth, but also perfectly flat. Let's understand the difference. Smoothness means the surface feels sleek and polished, while flatness means the surface is completely even and level. Most ancient structures achieve either smoothness or flatness, but the Barabar Caves have both. This combination is extremely rare. When researchers tested the smoothness of the Sudama cave walls, they found a roughness grade of 0.466. For comparison, even modern industrially polished granite has an RG value of 9.492. This means the Barabar cave walls are around 20 times smoother than granite polished with today's advanced tools. Polishing granite is already very difficult, even with modern machines. Achieving this level of smoothness by hand, especially on vertical surfaces, is even harder. The builders also polished curved areas like ceilings, which makes the task even more challenging. And yet these walls were polished entirely by hand over 2,300 years ago. This shows not only their incredible skill but also their dedication and patience. Even though the Barabar and Nagarjuna caves were built thousands of years ago, no one has been able to replicate their design with the same precision. Later rock-cut structures like the Ajanta and Ellora caves are much grander and more decorative, but they don't match the technical precision of Barabar. One reason for this could be the loss of advanced techniques. Over time, invasions, societal changes, and shifting priorities may have caused this knowledge to disappear. Globally, the closest comparison to the Barabar Caves might be the Luxor obelisk in Paris, built in 1836. While the obelisk is a remarkable structure, its surface has roughness values of 25, 47, and 60 at different points. Compare this to the Barabar Caves' RG value of 0.466, and you see how far ahead these ancient builders were. The level of perfection in the Barabar Caves was not just technical, it reflects a deep desire to achieve something extraordinary. As Indologist Harry Falk said, a passion for achieving the impossible, a belief in the pursuit of perfection, and an indifference to cost or effort. These could be the motivations driving such extraordinary creations. Modern stonemasons and builders agree. Replicating the Barabar Caves even today would be nearly impossible. These caves required not just incredible skill, but also a passion for perfection. Some experts believe the polishing of the walls could have taken decades, even centuries, given how detailed the work is. The people who created these caves were not just skilled workers, They were masters of their craft, with expertise passed down over generations. These caves couldn't have been built randomly or adjusted along the way. Everything was planned in advance, with precise measurements and perfect execution. Working in dark, dusty, and hot conditions, they created something that still amazes us today. Why are these the only structures like this? If our ancestors had the knowledge to build such advanced structures, why aren't there more examples like the Barabar Caves? Could this knowledge have been lost over time? Or were these caves so unique in their purpose that they were never replicated? There's another mystery too. The inscriptions found in the caves are surprisingly simple and crude compared to the advanced construction. This makes experts think the inscriptions might have been added much later, long after the caves were built. Could the real builders and their purpose have been forgotten by then? Would anyone put in so much effort, skill, and math just to create rain shelters or meditation spaces? The sheer amount of work suggests these caves were made for something much more important, something we might not yet understand. Comparing Barabar with other Indian structures, the Barabar Caves are very different from other ancient Indian structures like the Ajanta and Ellora caves. While Ajanta and Ellora are larger and more decorative, they don't have the same level of technical precision. Their surfaces are often rough, and their designs don't match the flawless geometry of Barabar. What makes the Barabar Caves special is not their size or decoration, but their perfect craftsmanship. From the symmetry of the chambers to the polished walls, everything about them speaks of a lost expertise. It feels like the knowledge used to create them has disappeared forever. The role of sound. One of the most surprising features of the Barabar Caves is how they interact with sound. When a sound is made inside the chambers, it resonates and amplifies in a way that modern microphones can't replicate. For example, a low-frequency sound can echo for up to 62 seconds. By comparison, even the famous Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris has a reverberation time of just 10 to 12 seconds. This shows that the caves weren't designed for conversations or casual gatherings. The prolonged echoes would make speech unclear. Instead, they might have been made for chanting, prayers, or rituals involving sound. Sound has always been an important part of ancient traditions. Even today, science shows that sound vibrations can calm the mind and even heal the body. Could these caves have been created to use sound for meditation, healing, or altering consciousness? A forgotten history. When we look at history, we realize how much is still unknown. Modern humans have been around for about 230,000 years, but our known civilizations are just a few thousand years old. For a long time, the Sumerians were considered the first civilization, dating back 6,000 years. But discoveries like Göbekli Tepe, which was built around 10,000 BCE, have changed what we know about history. The Barabar Caves force us to rethink the past. They challenge the idea that history is a straight line of progress, from simple tools to modern technology. What if there were advanced civilizations long before recorded history, and their knowledge was lost over time? Sites like Göbekli Tepe make this idea even more interesting. Built around 10,000 BCE in Turkey, it is the oldest known temple. Its vulture stone might even depict a global disaster that wiped out advanced civilizations before us. Could the Barabar Caves also be the work of such a forgotten civilization, one that had incredible knowledge of sound, geometry, and construction? Connect to Göbekli Tepe. If these questions excite you, I've explored them further in my video on Göbekli Tepe and the vulture stone. This ancient site is rewriting history and showing us what could have been lost to time. Watch it on my channel. Do these two ancient wonders, one in India, the other in Turkey, hint at a shared story of lost civilizations?